You want to believe you're harmless because you were told it's safer. You were told power happens by accident. Someone noticed, someone promoted, someone liked you. That story let you sleep. It also kept you unarmed. Machiavelli would not bother arguing with you. He would point. He would count bodies, offices, titles, budgets, and the hands that move them. He would ask one question: who benefits? And when you answer with sentiment, with intentions, with "they mean well," he would watch your mouth expose exactly where you've been volunteering leverage. Power is never accidental. It is constructed, defended, and priced. You've been paying. The receipts are your explanations. Pause there, feel it. Every time you explained yourself, instead of making someone else explain their demand, you financed their position. Every clarifying paragraph, every long email, every apologetic just to circle back, lowered your rate. You have felt it. You are not imagining it. That cost is real. Yes, you paid it. The price was credibility. The interest was time. The collateral was your future asks. Machiavelli isn't a motivational poster. He's a mechanic. He takes apart the machine while you're still trying to be liked by it. He names the gears. He names the fluid. He tells you which pieces spill blood and which stain only your calendar. He does not admire innocence. Innocence is a state before measurement. You've already been measured. You think power is charm, or votes, or a title. He calls it something harder: the ongoing capacity to set consequences. That's all. Not slogans. Not feelings. Consequences. You set them, or someone sets them for you. All else is narrative. You prefer narrative. You had to. Stories made what happened to you tolerable. But you can't unknow the mechanism once you see it. You can't unhear the click when someone locks the frame and you keep arguing content inside their prison. Watch how the frame works. You show up to defend yourself. They show up to define the terms. You're bringing facts. They're bringing the calendar, the audience, the agenda, the silence at key moments. You think the most true wins. They know the most consequential truth is who chooses what counts. Your accuracy doesn't matter inside their definitions. Your evidence is a hobby if they don't recognize jurisdiction. And you keep helping them. You narrate your intent. You promise your values. You confess weakness before anyone asks. You volunteer context like an organ donor. You believe in being understood. They believe in leverage. Guess whose belief is convertible into budget? You think this is cynical. It isn't. It's descriptive. Gravity doesn't hate you when you fall. You just step off a roof because your bedtime story said roofs are forgiving. Machiavelli uses two words you keep pretending are poetry: fortuna and virtue. You call them luck and skill. That translation is lazy. Fortune is the flood, the chaotic surge that washes through regimes, markets, families. Virtue is not virtue as in nice. It's the hard capacity to shape circumstance, to build banks before the flood, to cut channels so water turns wheels you own. You keep waiting for good weather. They build drainage. You call them cold. They call you wet. You like to be liked. He prefers you to be feared if he needs you predictable. Not because fear is elegant, but because fear pays on time. Affection is credit. Fear is cash. Affection says later. Fear says now. Note your own life. Who do you reply to fastest? The colleague you adore or the one who can harm you quietly? You just outed your own hierarchy. You want to be seen as decent. Machiavelli wants you to understand appearances are currency. He says it plainly. You must appear merciful, faithful, humane, upright, religious, and be ready to not be any of those when necessary. You think that makes him monstrous. He thinks your need to be consistent makes you a hostage. You are publicly virtuous and think you are safe because you performed. They are publicly virtuous because they understand supply and demand. They know the value of plausible deniability. They know when to let someone else do the dirty work and they know how to say regrettable while keeping the gates shut. Stop pretending you don't recognize this. You have felt someone be regretfully slow to answer when it benefits them. You have heard, "I'm afraid policy prevents me." Policy is a gun with clean fingerprints. Administrative violence. You want to argue with feelings? They have forms. You hope competence wins. He warns you about mercenaries. Mercenaries are highly competent and loyal to whatever pays today. Your outsourced defenders, your platform, your manager's goodwill, your brand are mercenaries. They don't bleed for you. They rent their capacity to you by the post, by the quarter hour. When you need them most, they don't arrive, or they arrive with an invoice. You built your safety on rented muscle and rented influence. Then you declare yourself betrayed when the rent came due. He tells princes to avoid mercenaries because mercenaries ruin you. You say, "But I'm not a prince." You are. Over your small domain, your time, your attention, your network, you have a throne you keep pretending is an ergonomic chair. If you won't recruit and train your own loyal force people, who benefit when you benefit and suffer when you suffer, you will always buy soldiers on the day of the battle and wonder why they aim around you. You believe in fairness. He believes in incentives. You say, "People should." He says, "People do." The person who should thank you doesn't. The person who should promote you doesn't. The person who should take responsibility doesn't. Meanwhile, the person with an incentive to block you does, perfectly on time, with a smile. You keep confusing the calendar of gratitude with the calendar of power. Only one of those comes with deadlines. You want to be careful. You dribble favors. You hand out little kindnesses hoping for interest. He says use cruelty well, quickly, decisively, and then stop. He does not praise cruelty. He observes its economy. A single clean cut saves you 1,000 festive paper cuts later. You prefer to never cut. Then you drown in maintenance. You keep the undead relationships walking. You pay with attention. You pay with access. You pay with days you won't get back. Hold this in your mouth. You fear being too much. The person who owns the room fears being too little. They overcorrect by making examples. You undercorrect by making excuses. Guess who sets the temperature? You cling to harmony. They cultivate useful enemies. You think enemies are for villains. They know enemies are for cohesion. A shared enemy is a low-cost bonding agent. That's why they always have one. Not because they care that much about the enemy, but because accountability diffuses when everyone is focused outward. They pick someone they can afford to punish. They teach consequences at a safe distance. The lesson is never about the scapegoat's crime. It's about the ruler's reach. You felt that lesson at work, at school, at home. Someone got let go for culture fit. Someone was not aligned. Everyone else got the email. Everyone else nodded. You read the subtext. Comply or be the object lesson. You told yourself you were safe because you are not like them. You missed the mechanism. You are always like them, replaceable. Safety only exists where the costs of replacing you are designed to be high. That's why Machiavelli obsesses about foundations. Armies that belong to you. Laws that bind others more than they bind you. Fortresses you don't need, because your fortress is people who would lose if you fell. That is what loyalty actually is. Shared downside. You keep measuring it as affection. Affection is weather. Shared downside is concrete. Now watch the part that should embarrass you. You keep seeking high-minded debate when the other side has already stacked the chairs and told the janitor to cut the lights at 9. You pride yourself on eloquence. They control the microphone. You ask for time, they schedule you last. You show receipts. They close the meeting. Afterward, they message you privately. Great points. That message cost them nothing and cost you your last little piece of belief that next time will be different. New orders are dangerous, he says. You know why. Every order creates beneficiaries and victims, and the old order creates people who will fight like hell, while the new order pays out later, if at all. You keep trying to change things with arguments alone. You wave data like a prayer flag. They have payroll. They have access. They have enforcement. Change without enforcement is a wish. Wishes don't scare anybody. You think you're above threats. Meanwhile, your life is full of them. Deadlines are threats. Budgets are threats. Policy is a threat. Silence is a threat. The difference is only who can make theirs stick. You can make none of yours stick because you trained everyone that your word comes bundled with explanations. You don't say no. You say, I can't because. You think the because softens the blow. It does. It also teaches everyone to attack your because. Suddenly, your constraints are negotiable, and your person is not. You think you're being reasonable. You're being disassembled. You are not bad at politics. You are a perfect mark for politics that already happened before you arrived. The meeting was the theater. The deal was yesterday, in the hall, between the people who don't need to perform values to believe they have them. They understand that public virtue is a ration to be distributed. Private pressure is the meal. You came hungry to the ration line and wondered why the stew tasted like someone else's leftovers. This is where you try to bargain with the video. You want me to give you steps. You want tactics. You want to feel equipped. Machiavelli would bored laugh. If you need steps, you are already late. The steps are simple, and you have known them your whole life, which is why you refuse them. Stop narrating, start negotiating frame. Stop promising, start pricing. Stop waiting for good fortune, start building structures that survive bad fortune. Stop being loved, start being costly to cross. If that sounds like a manual, you will misuse it. Because you still think this is about performance. It isn't. It's about consequences you can set and absorb. You understand consequences only when they hit you. You take them personally. They are not personal. They are infrastructural. The person who denied you didn't hate you. They did their job as an agent of a structure. You are not a person to structures. You are a throughput. You only become a person when you are also a bottleneck. You hate that. You want to be a person without being a bottleneck. That wish is childish. The system has no slot for it. You crave clarity about motives. Machiavelli demotes motives. He raises constraints. He cares about whether the river will flood, whether the soldiers will flee, whether the nobles will conspire. You care whether they like you. Your feelings are scaled for family drama. You bring them to StatCraft and wonder why you get eaten. Name the mechanism that eats you. You apologize for existing, so your presence is taxed. You explain, so your limits become debates. You seek permission, so your baseline is no. You volunteer optional labor, so your paid labor is devalued. You perform values, so you become the free marketing wing of whoever holds the budget. You correct small untruths, so you're absent at the big decisions. You ask for advice, so you audition for management, without management ever having to pay you. None of this is an accident. It is not a conspiracy. It is an ecology. Systems reward what lowers costs and raises control. You lower costs and raise control for others when you try to be understood at all times. That is why you have been popular and disposable. That is why you get invited and ignored. That is why you are told, we value your input by the same mouths that cut your options. You are providing a service, moral cover at scale. You thought Machiavelli's fox and lion was a personality test. It is an instruction about timing. You can't be feared all the time. Fear burns the soil. You can't be loved all the time. Love doesn't deter. The fox smells traps. The lion breaks them when it must. You are a rabbit writing medium posts about humane trapping. You have never broken a trap in your life. That's why every snare in the forest was calibrated with you in mind. You want to believe in transparency. They believe in opacity and ritual. Ritual creates predictability without revealing motive. That's why powerful people love ceremonies, awards, committees. The ritual is the moat. You respect the process. They named the process. You preserved their advantage because you worshiped the paperwork. Listen to his most impolite arguments. He prefers founding crimes to inherited virtue. A clean founding crime won decisive seizure of control, followed by predictable administration, beats endless, indecisive niceness. He would rather you violate a rule once to create order than watch you die by 1,000 obeyed rules that never love you back. You won't do it. You will keep starving on principle. And you will say, "At least I'm me," as if your sense of self is portable to the future you refuse to protect. Watch how you get trapped by time horizons. You need results now. He builds over generations. He advises princes to cultivate the memory of benefits and the fear of punishment as reservoirs. You cultivate the memory of grievances and the hope of recognition. Your calendar produces hunger. Theirs produces compounding. You think conspiracies are about secrets. He says conspiracies fail because fear of punishment overwhelms shared intent unless the conspirators already have shelter. You look for allies among the dissatisfied. He looks for allies among the incentivized. Dissatisfied people gossip. Incentivized people act. You keep mistaking complaints for commitments. That's why your projects attract fragile coalitions that dissolve at the first counter-pressure. Appearances, he whispers, are the currency of safety in public. Capacity is the currency of safety in private. You keep showing samples of your capacity in public, hoping someone will buy. They already bought your silence. Your output is a spectacle. Your silence is leverage. You have sold it cheaply your entire life. This is where you feel a little sick. Good. You should. You have been cooperating in your own diminishment, and you have been calling it moral superiority. You've accused others of cynicism to avoid admitting your own naivete is voluntary. You've forgiven institutions for outcomes you would never forgive a friend. You have normalized asymmetries that would make you furious if you saw them in a contract with your name on it. But you never asked for a contract. You asked for trust. Trust is a word. Contracts have penalties. Machiavelli would tell you to study penalties. Not because punishment is fun, but because penalties are the skeleton of power. What can you impose? What can you absorb? You spend your energy on persuasion because your penalties are zero and your absorptive capacity is infinite. You can eat infinite disrespect, infinite delay, infinite ambiguity, and still show up. They can eat none of that, so they don't. They simply offload it to you. Why wouldn't they? You volunteered. Hold still and look at your habits. You answer quickly to prove you care. You train them to expect responsiveness as obedience. You accept last-minute changes. You teach them you are weatherproof. You understand both sides. You make yourself a cushion. You over-explain. You give adversaries material to chisel your boundaries. You avoid saying no. You guarantee you will have to say no later under worse conditions. You keep thinking they are the enemy. Often they aren't. They are just better at the game because they admit it exists. Power is not a personality trait. It's a practice. The practice starts with refusing to explain yourself to anyone who hasn't explained their authority. You never learned to do that. You grew up buying legitimacy from people who counterfeited with tone and posture. You believed tone was law. Tone is wind. Paper is law. Steel is law. Budget is law. Who signs is law. Now, the ugly part. You've been dangerous to people weaker than you while pretending you're harmless because you are nice. You enforce norms when it costs you nothing. You dogpile safe offenders. You signal penalties when no one can hit you back. You told yourself you were protecting community. You were auditioning for the current prince. You wanted a sticker. Good subject. He would appreciate your zeal and never promote you. Your function was to lower his enforcement costs. It is not an accident that you are tired. You are tired because you work hard at the wrong parts. You try to build consensus where consensus wasn't on the menu. You try to save everyone when the system is priced for triage. You think being comprehensive earns respect. It earns expectation. Respect lives where you can say, "This is how it will be," and make it so without raising your voice. You don't need volume. You need a valve. Without a valve, you're a pipe. Water flows through you. You complain about being wet. There is a reason people with real power are often quiet in public and lethal in private. They understand that talk creates claims. Claims attract rivals. Rivals create costs. You use talk to lower your anxiety. They use talk to raise your rate. You talk to be understood. They only talk to clarify penalties. You think that makes them cruel. It makes them scarce. Scarcity is a price. Yes, you can try to be feared. You will fail. Fear requires consistency. You are not consistent. You will flare once, then explain. Your threats will become comedy. People will take the parts of you they like at your expense. They already have. This is not advice to become monstrous. It is a demand that you stop pretending the monster is in the room. The monster is the room. The walls have memory. The chairs have instructions. The agenda is carved into wood older than you. If you will not carve back, stop expecting the table to like you. When you acquire a new principality, he warns, you must list enemies and friends, reward swiftly, punish cleanly, and remove the old bloodline. Translate that to your scale. When you take responsibility for a team, a project, your own time, you must decide who must lose access to you, who must gain it, what processes die on day one, and which myths you will not fund. That last part is crucial. Stop funding myths with your labor. The myth of fairness. The myth of eventual recognition. The myth that being right reduces resistance. None of those pay rent. You feel the urge to say, not all organizations. You still think. You can keep your illusions if you add enough exceptions. You can't. Exceptions are furniture. Structures are gravity. Gravity wins. Here is the detail you will not forget tomorrow. You are a resource until you make yourself an actor. Resources explain themselves. Actors set terms. Resources wait for permission. Actors assume it. You keep offering soft power moves. Options, patience, goodwill. Those are spices. Without heat, nothing cooks. Your heat is the credible threat of exit and the credible promise of results elsewhere. That's why they counteroffer when you resign. Your value only became real when it threatened to leave. You were never seen. You were lent. You hate this. You should. It's ugly. It's also the floor. You have to decide if you want to live above it or under it. Above it, you will do things you taught yourself were unkind. You will say less. You will close doors forever. You will make examples strategically. You will cut into myths. You will withhold access without apology. Under it, you will do things you tell yourself are kind. You will overfunction. You will absorb other people's chaos. You will explain. You will forgive structures that don't have a face to love. You will call it patience until patience becomes your quiet resignation. Machiavelli doesn't ask you to change your values. He reminds you values that cannot survive contact with structure are lullabies. You can keep singing. Just stop calling it strategy. Now, rewind to the first lie you believed. Power is accidental. A manager liked you. A teacher noticed you. Your founder stumbled into success. They didn't. Someone gave them cover. Someone gave them money. Someone gave them time. Someone took a fall. Every ascent has invoices. If you didn't pay them, someone paid them for you. If they did, they own a piece of you. Debt you don't acknowledge controls you in the same way gravity controls you, whether or not you name it. You can be grateful. You should also be exact about terms. Neutrality, you say, keeps me safe. It doesn't. It keeps you available. Availability is not safety. It is inventory. Being inventory means you are picked, used, and put back with a smile. You will be told you're lucky to be stocked. Then you will be discounted. You don't need to become a prince to stop acting like a shelf. You need to stop allowing people to check you out without scanning a price. You do that by making simple changes you will resist because they feel rude. You state boundaries without rationales. You answer slowly to those who do not pay your cost. You attach deadlines and consequences to your offers. You refuse meetings without agendas. You decline to fix what you didn't break. You replace sorry with silence. You reward those who pay and starve those who don't, even if they're charming, even if it feels mean. You do this not to be mean, but because you're done financing your own erasure. Notice how you want to argue that this is transactional. It is. So is the rent you pay. So is the health care you need. So is the time you have left. You wasted a decade pretending relationship and transaction are enemies. They aren't. Good relationships are built on clear transactions. Bad ones are built on implied debts and performative virtue. You've kept yourself in the second category because it flatters your self-image. It also chokes you. Final cut, no music. Remember what Machiavelli says about fortune. She favors the bold. You think boldness is posting louder. It's not. Boldness is severing options in a way that forces reality to move. Cortez burned ships. Founders kill old products. Leaders remove a cousin from payroll. Parents lock a door. You refuse to do any of that, and you write long threads about boundaries. No one believes your threads. They believe locks. You never installed one. You are embarrassed now. Good. Hold that. Embarrassment is proof you can still be taught. Do not turn it into motivation. Motivation is a sugar rush. It's how you trick yourself into believing a feeling is a plan. This isn't a plan. It's a diagnosis. The prescription is simple and heavy. Stop talking like a resource. Make yourself costly to cross. Make yourself boring to exploit. Build your own enforcement. Price your silence. Punish once cleanly. Reward loudly, selectively. Choose a small dominion and make it uninvadable. Then, and only then, talk values. Values are stable only when they're defended by structure. You think this is dark? It isn't. It's noon without curtains. You can keep squinting and calling the light mean. Or you can buy shades and get to work. Fortune is coming either way. She doesn't care you're a good person. She cares whether your house has a foundation. Power is never accidental. Either you build it and defend it, or you explain yourself to those who do. And every time you explain, they measure how much more you will give before you stop. You just learned what the meter looks like. Don't pretend you didn't. Sit with the weight. Let it reorganize you. Then shut up. Then move one lever. Then watch who moves. Then don't narrate it. If you can't do that, you weren't listening. If you can, you just became dangerous. Not because you're cruel, but because you are finally costly. That, more than love, will keep you alive in rooms where love is a garnish and power is the meal. End. No call to action. No uplift. Just gravity.